SLT අලුත් මෙගා ලයින් කනෙක්ෂන් වලට 50%ක දීවන. තවත් ඔෆර් ගැන දැනගන්න 121 අමතන්න.
Tonight, the healing begins. Archbishop of Colombo addresses health concerns of church blast victims.
Some of these people are heavily traumatized. We have prepared a project to look after the aspect of counselling.
Also takes aim at the new government.
Especially with the change of the new government coming in, apparently there has been some kind of spirit of complacency.
Change of tune, the Prime Minister contradicts his own State Minister of Defence.
The planning took place, I would say, before CHRISTCHURch. So it was a question of when and how, I would say.
Opposition rips into government.
Didn't they have the courtesy in the name of God to inform the minister or the cardinal?
They were aptly aided by others.
That we are collectively guilty of complacency in not taking immediate action.
All the while, the TNA leader has the Tamil community in mind.
Attack on the particular church also has an ethnic flavor. I'm informed that all the victims were Tamils.
All this and much more coming up this Wednesday, the 24th of April 2019.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and a warm welcome to the English service broadcast of AdaDerana 24, your trusted news source. Well, calls for the removal of the Defence Secretary became a common theme, especially after remarks he made to a foreign journalist during an interview about not thinking there would be a serious attack in the country despite relevant intelligence being available. Now it looks like those who want to see his back might get their wish, as reliable sources have said that the President has called for the resignations of the Defence Secretary and the IGP. The death toll from the spate of attacks on Sunday has now risen to 359, leaving over 500 injured. Among the dead are 39 foreign nationals. Well, at a media briefing today, police media spokesperson SP Ruan Gunasekara confirmed that there were 9 suicide bombers linked to the terror attack and over 60 arrests made so far. State Minister of Defence Ruan Wijewardena also went on to clarify that the Easter Sunday attacks were carried out by a splinter group from the National Tawhid Jamaat. Well, the FBI and intelligence services from Australia, UK, UAE and Interpol are in Sri Lanka, in fact, to assist in these ongoing investigations. In a backdrop where controlled explosions took place at several locations, an island-wide police curfew will be in effect from 10 p.m. tonight, that is shortly, until 4 a.m. tomorrow. President Maithripala Sirisena has informed the Defence Secretary Hemasiri Fernando and Inspector General of Police Pujit Jayasundara to resign from their posts. This was confirmed to AdaDerana by reliable sources, as we said. Meanwhile, President Sirisena has also convened an all-party conference and an all-religions conference tomorrow to discuss the current situation in the country and possible measures to be taken.
President Maithripala Sirisena made a special address to the nation yesterday, saying that he would make changes to the top positions of all security forces soon, in consideration of the series of terror attacks left the country in mourning on Easter Sunday. It is in this backdrop parliamentarian Vijayadasa Rajapaksa addressed a letter to the President requesting the arrest of both Defence Secretary Hemasiri Fernando and Inspector General of Police Pujit Jayasundara over the attacks which took place on Easter Sunday. The parliamentarian claimed that they were responsible for not updating the President and the PM of an existing serious threat, thus perpetrating a criminal offence. In such a situation, First at 9 learned that the head of state has called for the duo's resignation. Meanwhile, President Sirisena called for an all-party conference at 10 a.m. tomorrow to discuss the current situation in the country and possible measures to be taken. The President has also convened an all-religion conference at the Presidential Secretariat at 4 p.m. tomorrow. Meanwhile, the president also visited the residence of IP Rohan Bandara, who lost his life during the search operation at a housing scheme in Dematagoda last Sunday, and paid his last respects this evening.
Well, surveillance footage of the explosion at Cinnamon Grand and Shangri-La hotels are now released to media. They show the actions of the suicide bombers leading up to the explosions. Sri Lanka police went on to urge the public for a second day today to contact the hotline 116 regarding information on suspicious individuals, vehicles and incidents.
Surveillance footage of the explosion at Cinnamon Grand Hotel shows that the suicide attacker had arrived at the hotel at 9:12 a.m. on that fateful Sunday, while people were still having their breakfast at the buffet restaurant. Surveillance footage of the Shangri-La attack was also released to media today. The footage showed the attackers entering the elevator and the mastermind of the series of explosions, Zahran Hashim, being among the two. They set off the bomb after entering the third floor where people were having their breakfast. Meanwhile, a controlled explosion was carried out near the Savoy Cinema in Ballavatta by security personnel this morning. The police special task force had found an unattended motorcycle parked near the movie theatre, and when officials could not open the seat of the vehicle for inspection, measures were taken to carry out the explosion in an attempt to remove the seat. However, no explosions were found. Another suspicious motorcycle, which had been left unattended at Gasworks Street in Petta, was also destroyed by the bomb disposal unit through a controlled explosion. However, no explosives were discovered there either. Following security operations across the country, 6 persons in Daraga, Waludgama police area, 5 in Kankawangoda, Beruwala police area, another 6 in Katuwapiti of Katana police area were arrested today. The 5 individuals arrested in Beruwala police area were produced before the Kalutara Magistrates Court today, and permission was granted to question them under detention for a period of 2 days. In addition, Police Special Task Force, police and intelligence officials arrested 2 individuals following a search operation at a house in Masjid Road in Varakapula last night. A van and a motorcycle at the premises were also taken into custody upon suspicion. Meanwhile, 4 walkie-talkies were taken into police custody. A 3rd individual was later apprehended by police in the Hemantagama police area. In the meantime, a copper manufacturing factory believed to have been owned by one of the suicide bombers was searched by Police Special Task Force today. Police suspect that explosives used in the attacks were manufactured at that location. Another suspicious house in Evarivatta area in Jala that had been shut was also searched by the security officials today. Officials discovered cannabis as well as illicit drugs by the name Ice and Kush, 10 T-56 live ammunitions, as well as a motor bicycle which were taken into custody. Neighborhood locals say the tenant of the house haven't been seen following the attacks. Following the arrest of 2 persons at a rest house in Dambulla over communal violence and Easter Sunday attacks, further security operations yielded the arrest of a resident at one of the houses in Nikawatan area along with 2 swords. Meanwhile, police and army officials launched search operations in the Kahalla Pallekala sanctuary in Anuradhapura following a tip-off about 4 persons with weapons entering into its premises. Police officials also apprehended an Egyptian national on charges of visa violations at the Islahia Arabic College in Madampe. He did not have a valid passport or visa. However, he had been employed as a teacher in the college. Police had also taken into custody a van that was parked in the premises.
Well, on Monday, the National Security Council decided to gazette the anti-terrorism legal clauses under emergency regulations in order to empower the police to make and take effective measures to safeguard the security of the people and the country following the Easter Sunday attacks here. Accordingly, the gazette was passed in Parliament today without a vote. In the meantime, the government drew flack of all sides in Parliament, even from within, over the failure to act on intelligence information which warned of an imminent terror attack here in Sri Lanka.
You admitted that from the 4th information was available. What did the government do? How can you say you did not know? Inquiries were on from 2016 when your Prime Minister was in the Security Council. If it appeared in the newspaper, you better release immediately to the newspaper. at least the country, the innocent people will protect themselves. It is shame that certain higher up of the government made an utterance to say he knew and he didn't go to church. Didn't they have the courtesy in the name of God to inform the minister or the cardinal? This country has no government, sir. That is why we, the leader of the opposition, ask you all to quit and hand over a government that can save our country from this disaster.
An independent investigation needs to be conducted in regard to this matter, and the truth should be made public. Do these attacks have an international dimension? Attack on the Paradura Church also has an ethnic flavor. I'm informed that all the victims were Tamils. Sri Lanka chosen for the attack because we are politically divided on account of our own interests, not on account of the interests of the country. For Sri Lanka attack because we are economically weak on account of wasteful expenditure on a war which should never have occurred if commitments made to moderate Tamil politicians had been implemented in due time. The war need not have ever occurred. Our security was weakened on account of our internal divisions.
We must, however, confess and concede that we are collectively guilty of complacency in not taking immediate action when there were intelligence reports pointing towards the possibility of these heinous attacks. The Muslim minority in Sri Lanka, living here for over 1,000 years, has preserved its ethno-religious identity with remarkable peace and resilience. This is not to say that we also have and profess the extreme degree of tolerance towards other communities as preached by Lord Buddha. I don't think we should start pointing fingers at each other and allowing the enemy to benefit from this. Declaring emergency is unavoidable in a situation like this. I am sure those powers will be used in full measure, keeping in mind, of course, those extraordinary powers will be resorted to in a rational and justifiable manner, proportionate to the purpose of investigation.
It's not only during the threat of terrorism that politicians and military officials should realize the importance of security in the country. Foreign intelligence services informed of the attack. As far as I know, the Director of State Intelligence Service is under the Ministry of Defence and the Defence Secretary, but not under the Inspector General of Police. Therefore, what's the point in vilifying the IGP? I'm sure the opposition leader must remember that I came up with some proposals after the end of the war. The State Intelligence Services must be strengthened to ensure the security of the country. However, I don't think it happened over time. I'm sure they must have been weakened. There is no use of sending the Director of State Intelligence Service home in the name of restructuring. Even our government did not take measures to strengthen it. If the President is weak, we are weak as well. The Security Council, the Defence Minister and the Defence Secretary has not done their duty properly regarding the incident that happened recently. And they have failed. We won't believe whatever the excuses they come up with. They gave more prominence to the information they got from Namal Kumara than they gave to this information. The Prime Minister and the State Minister of Defence were not asked to attend the Security Council for 6 months. Do we have a government here? Honourable Prime Minister, I respect you, but if you were not asked to attend the Security Council, why were you silent? The State Minister of Defence should have resigned if he was not asked to attend the Security Council. The other thing is, there should be more experienced personnel in these positions. How can a younger minister of 40 to 45 years of age give directions to an army commander aged 55 or 60? We too held positions, and I said that an administrative officer must become the Defence Secretary. Some Defence Secretaries didn't know that there are 25 members in a platoon. I was invited to meet the Prime Minister only 48 hours after the attack had happened. Is there anyone in this government who is better qualified than myself to talk about security? Make use of us.
Well, we'll bring you more on the developing story after this short commercial break on AdaDerana 24. Do stay with us on First at 9.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel. This is AdaDerana 24.
A group of ambassadors and high commissioners representing Islamic countries met the Archbishop of Colombo, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit, this morning. Speaking to media following the meeting, the Archbishop ruled out media reports that claimed Easter Sunday attacks were connected to the Christchurch shooting in New Zealand. The Cardinal went on to say that measures have also been taken to address psychological and emotional impact on traumatized victims of these terror attacks.
Several ambassadors and high commissioners of Islamic countries met with the Archbishop of Colombo, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit, in Colombo this morning.
We are very happy and thankful to the ambassadors of the Islamic countries for having come here to express their solidarity with us, and also to assure us that all what has happened is not something political or religious. It is something that has been probably a result of some misguided people, and maybe there are other forces behind those misguided people, but they are not no connection to Islam. We also assured the ambassadors that we appreciate the Islamic community in Sri Lanka and we will help them. This kind of incident should not in any way harm the harmony and peace that exists between us, Christians, Buddhists, Hindus and Muslims together. We have to build up Sri Lanka, which is multi-religious and united.
The Archbishop of Colombo then responded to questions raised by the media.
In the light of the fact that the security situation in this country is not yet completely clear, I would kindly invite all my Catholic faithful and also the priests in charge of churches not to get back to the normal praxis of Sunday masses and weekday masses unless there is a proper apparatus of checking up the people when they come inside to the church, unless they are sure of the security situation. Also, no festivals and no processions with the people until the situation is cleared up.
How do you make sense of the targeting of Catholics along with tourists? What kind of pattern does that follow?
I don't know, because some people say that it is a reaction to Christchurch. I do not know whether this is true, but if it is a reaction, anyway, it looks like a Christian-oriented reaction. We people have nothing to do with Christchurch.
Have you issued any advisories to your community about how to deal with the anger?
We have prepared a project to look after the aspect of counselling, because some of these people are heavily traumatized, can have health concerns, can become also deranged.
But are you also not worried that this incident could drive a rift between the two communities?
I don't think the Muslim community had anything to do with this, and we will not attribute it that way. And I have told my Catholic population not to raise their hand against anyone.
Do you feel let down by the fact that the Prime Minister, the President, and the Minister in charge of Christian Affairs have not been commenting on how this intelligence that was somehow, that did not percolate to the Christian community?
There is a certain complacency that entered the governing people, because now it's 10 years after the war. So this intelligence apparatus was very much active and functioning during the war. And then after the war, especially with the change of the new government coming in, apparently there has been some kind of spirit of complacency.
Well, despite the statement made by the State Minister of Defence, Ruwan Wijewardena, in Parliament yesterday, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe said that attacks in Sri Lanka on Easter Sunday had been planned prior to the Christchurch mosque shootings in New Zealand last month. The State Minister of Defence, Ruwan Wijewardena, said in Parliament yesterday that the coordinated terror attacks and extremist group were in retaliation for the Christchurch mosque massacre.
Are you seeing this as an intelligence failure, first of all?
There has been a lapse. The information was received. Certainly it has not been conveyed down the line. But our priority is to apprehend the terrorists.
Where is the suspicion being pointed right now?
So far has been a group confined to Sri Lankan citizens, but with foreign connections. This is why we've asked the assistance of some other foreign agencies also trace the overseas link.
What kind of assistance is India offering to you in this particular investigation?
India has, we have a good intelligence sharing system, and India has been giving us all the help we require. Now we've got help also from the USA, UK. They're all down here because they're citizens anyway who are involved in the blast, so they've got to make an investigation.
In Parliament today, I'm told that the Defence Minister had actually made a statement saying that he believes there's a retaliation attack for what happened at Christchurch. Is that the understanding that the government has?
That's one of the beliefs we have, that, but the planning took place, I would say, before Christchurch. So it was a question of when and how, I would say.
Mr. Namal Rajapakse has made these statements saying that we had ended terror, whereas terror is once again rearing its head.
We ended the war that was carried on by the LTT, of which terrorism was one part. This is different from LTT, and this is an organization which hasn't got the support of a vast majority of the Muslims. They are quite angry about it.
Are you a little apprehensive that this may actually lead to communal tension in your own country? It does seem like an Islamic terrorist organization is being suspected of having carried out this attack.
People know there are individuals who work on this, and it's not an organized movement that has been backed by these Muslims. So far, we've held it, and I think it will carry on. It was really Sunday and Monday, Tuesday that mattered, and all those days, thanks to the effort of the Cardinal, Venerable the Mahanayakas, and the Ulemas, we have been able to maintain communal harmony. There is a certain amount of tension, but that's natural in a situation like this. We've got to tackle this.
For your country, obviously, tourism is a very important component. And right now, what would you want to tell to those who look to your country as a favorite destination as well?
Now, we'll be back on the scene. Do not worry. I mean, not only us. Egypt went through this. Bali has gone through it. It's unfortunate for the economy, but tourism will recover in Sri Lanka.
And we'll bring you more after this short break. To stay with us.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel. This is AdaDerana 24.
State Minister of Defence Ruwan Wijewardena revealed today that the Easter Day attacks were carried out by a splinter group from the National Tawhid Jamaat. Speaking at a media briefing for foreign correspondents in Colombo, the State Minister went on to say that investigations are underway to identify links the attackers had to any international organisation.
National Tawhid Jamaat. What has happened to the leader? Do you have any information whether he has committed suicide?
There are two groups, the National Tawhid Jamaat, in a group that has split from that main body. That is the group that has become quite extreme. Their thinking is that only Islam can be the only religion in this country. We believe that the leader of this group has also committed suicide in one of the attacks.
Not the NTJ leader who has committed suicide, but it's somebody from the splinter group.
It is a splinter group, yes.
So not the NTJ, Zahran Hashmi is, we don't know what has happened to Zahran Hashmi.
No, it is a splinter group.
But if there's a split, did they work together on this operation?
Well, there have been links.
Did Islamic State train these people? Who was the mastermind of this attack? Is it a foreigner?
We are conducting those investigations at the moment to see if there is a direct link to any international organizations. Right now, the IS has claimed responsibility, but I can say it's through ideology and maybe funding, but on the funding part, we are conducting investigations to find out whether they are austeric funding. Most of them are well educated and come from maybe middle or upper middle class. Their families are quite stable financially. That is a worrying factor in this.
You told Parliament yesterday the bombings were in retaliation to Christchurch bombings.
This is according to an assessment done by the intelligence that they believe that Christchurch incident motivated these guys to carry out these blasts on Easter Sunday. This group, a couple of months ago in the Kegol district, had defaced a few Buddhist statues and attacked some temples. And a church as well, but they were not to this magnitude.
We have heard that the NEGOMBO bomber moved into a house by the church 1 month ago, suggesting that 1 week after the Christchurch shootings, this terror cell mobilized. It was that short notice.
What we have found out is that there have been 2 safe houses, one in NEGOMBO and one in PANADURA.
Have any of these people been in police custody over other incidents?
Yes, some of them, I think even on earlier incidents, have been taken into custody. on small skirmishes and all that.
We understand that the FBI is on the ground, and we wanted to know what the level of cooperation is with the FBI right now. And
there's an FBI unit down here to help with investigations. The CID is in contact with the FBI. There are other intelligence services from various other countries, including Australia, the Interpol, UK. The ambassador of the UAE called me yesterday, and they are willing to provide some intelligence service.
How many more radicalized youth are out there who could be a danger in the near future?
For the last 3-4 years, I've been looking at possible infiltration of IS into Sri Lanka. There have been some people who have traveled to Syria to take up the cause, but their families have been also under surveillance and everything. It was being monitored, but we didn't know it was going to go into this. Well, at least I didn't know that it was going up to, it was going to be scaled up to this.
So actually, we were told that 7 suicide bombers were involved in the attacks, and you just said that there were 9.
CID confirmed 9 suicide bomb attackers involved. 8 out of 9 have been identified by CID. Around 60 persons were arrested. 32 out of 60 are in CID custody.
It's hard to understand, you've got 60 people arrested and yet you're saying that there were only 9 suicide bombers. So can you just give a sense of what these other people were arrested for? Were they part of the plot?
From those who have been arrested, all are Sri Lankan. They've been arrested on possible links to the attack, and so those, as usual, I cannot give out most of that information.
Well, the British Parliament expressed their dismay for the gruesome Easter Sunday attacks, with some moving speeches by Foreign Secretary Jeremy Hunt and Shadow Foreign Secretary Emily Thornberry, urging the international community to ensure that goals of terrorism are never achieved.
The UK will never stand by in the face of such evil. So today we stand in solidarity with the government and people of Sri Lanka, who have been making enormous strides towards stability and peace following the conclusion of the civil war almost exactly 10 years ago. The Metropolitan Police's Counter-Terrorism Command has dispatched a team of specialists to Sri Lanka. A recent programme run by Interpol involved the training of 30 Sri Lankan forensic specialists and police officers by UK experts in disaster victim
Well, that's all on First at 9. I'll join you on the other side shortly after this on our current affairs programme at Hyde Park.
To stand in admiration of the way the show